I did 4 years active duty, and then I did 4 years ROTC at Texas A&M. I'm in officer training before I became active duty, So I always wanted to serve. Like loved history growing up, was a big fan, used to play with like the little history army sets, and was really big fan of the history and all that stuff. And just had a really big passion to serve. Parents didn't really want me to do it for a long time until I was about a senior in high school. And then we found out about ROTC scholarships and how the military could help pay for school. And so I ended up getting a full ride paid scholarship from the Army to go to school. And so that was a big driver to let my parents allow me to join the military, but also it just enabled me to get the schooling, but also be able to serve as well. For the first few years, once I was on active duty, so while I was at Texas A&M, it was mostly just training. So it was going to classes and then also having the training on the side as far as like how to leadership and being an officer. Once I went on active duty, my first couple years, I was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas. And so that I was mostly working with law enforcement since I was military police officer. I worked in military police intelligence and then did a lot of road work, working as basically a military police officer. My personal favorite was being able to work on the road, which by that, it just means being able to work like you would think of when you think of a police officer out there working, going to calls, like being able to help people, take people, accidents, that kind of stuff. Since I was an officer, I was called a duty officer, which is basically a supervisor. So I helped supervise all of the units in the patrol that evening. And so that was fun because I actually got to go to calls with them. The other side of things was more like the combat military police side. So it's very similar things, just like in a combat environment. So very similar, just one is like road, working with civilians and soldiers. The other one working like more in like a combat deployed environment. The biggest thing was leadership. So as very early on, you're 25 years old, 26 years old, coming out of university school, having zero military experience, and you're put in charge of, at the beginning, it was mostly intelligence. I wasn't with soldiers, but very soon once I got sent on a rotation to Europe. So I spent a year in Germany and Poland. And all of a sudden I'm 26 years old in charge of a whole platoon of soldiers. Some of them have been in for 15 years, some brand new. And you're like the leader we had 40 soldiers in my platoon, 40 soldiers and non-commissioned officers. So my favorite moment really was actually, crazy enough, actually being done with in Europe towards the end. We actually had, the whole reason we went actually was for this big field training exercise. We didn't know if it was gonna happen because of COVID, but they said, you know what, we're gonna do it anyways. And so that was really cool to actually be like it would be to be in combat. So I never actually served in combat like a lot of my counterparts did, but this was a very real world like combat. We trained with not just our soldiers, but we also had Polish, German, British. It was a big conglomerate of a bunch of NATO allies. And so that was really cool. It was 21 days in the field. So we didn't go back. We slept in trucks and in the outside for 21 days in winter in Germany. And so that was Germany and Poland actually. At the time, did not love it, but it was actually one of my most favorite experiences, was going to battle against tanks and all kinds of stuff in a training environment. But being done with that was absolutely amazing. The biggest thing really is the leadership. So being an officer, we're not dealing as much with the day-to-day things. We're a lot more pros and cons. We're a lot more paperwork, but we're also dealing with leadership situations. And the good thing was, even though I only served actually active duty 4 years, we got to be in a lot of different leadership across the military. So I went from policing side of things, the road, intelligence, to field training, a forward or deployed environment, rotation. And then towards the end, I was actually here at Fort Leonard and was actually helping basic trainees. So I was an executive officer for them. Completely different environment. Those are brand new people off the streets, and we're helping them to actually become soldiers. So three very different segments in my short time to be able to help growing a lot and a lot of different leadership skills. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is just be coachable, get your mindset ready, know that there's gonna be very, very tough days, but remember it ends. Like, it's very, very easy, especially because when you first start, they have watches, and time just slows down when you're in that environment, because it seems like it will never ever end, but it will end. Just imagine what you're gonna be doing in your career and how far you've come, and then that ending is gonna be so much better, and seeing, once you actually get out of that environment, it's so much better once you get done with it, so. It's definitely put a lot of things into perspective, like what we talked about earlier. It's allowed me also to, when I first came in, it's like starting over again. So I was an officer in charge of 40 soldiers, and then I came baback here and I was an intern putting desks together. It's just a very different, but you have to be humble and know, even though I wasn't doing this before, I had people for this, and goes into the business world too. There's every stage, every time you level up, you're now the newest at that new level. And so even though I leveled up into a whole new, brand new career, now I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, even though I've got tons of years of experience. And so that was a big challenge at first. I I knew that was going into it, but especially people who've been in the military 20 years and they haven't done that stuff in a very long time, it can be a bit of a challenge, but it was very exciting for sure too. If you're military and looking to get into real estate at some point, you have a lot of advantages. You may not have the sales skills, but it can be taught. Reach out to me, reach out to the team, and those can be taught. The skills that we have take many years to build. The sales skills can be built relatively quickly. The discipline, that's why a lot of the military performs so quickly, because they can like follow orders and follow rules and guidelines, and then we can just improve upon them. So if you're looking out of the military to go into real estate or business, you have a huge leg up in my opinion. Just join some sort of network or join with people who've done it, and you're gonna be leaps and bounds ahead of your competition because you can progress so much faster. We've done a lot of the crazy stuff, and so business really isn't that scary. It's a new skill set for sure, but definitely doable, and it's a very great career path. I love the transition, and there are a lot of parallels as well. I'm very grateful for my time being able to serve in the military. It's an honor to serve alongside my brothers and sisters, and it's even more of an honor now to be able to give back to the military community. And those are my favorite clients and being able to help them, and so I know we do that in a lot of different ways, and I love being able to serve alongside veterans and being able to help veterans in a new capacity now. It's absolutely an honor, and I'm very grateful for it.